Middle School is under new business currently, should be under report of liaisons from the town council. And to that, I'll also add an update on our field committee. And I have no other changes. Anything to add or omit, Dr. Macri? Okay. So first on our agenda tonight is celebrating our faculty and staff. We have the WIS intervention team introduced by Chris Butwell, principal of Woodside.
The good news is I'm here to celebrate. Bad news is that none of them were able. All have very busy schedules, so I'm going to still talk about them, and I am absolutely going to let them know what words. Tonight we're recognizing a wonderful group of individuals that support our students, our reading and math interventionists. From our reading intervention team, we have Jen Tyne, Tracy Curran, and Sabrina Ruggieri. And from our math intervention team, we have Tom DiFiore, Kate Arnold, Julie Nelson, and Cliff Vassell. Our interventionists are a very important part of our instruction. When data determines that students need support in an area, math or reading, our interventionists will work with them in small groups to help support their instructional needs. They have to collaborate with classroom teachers, as well as our reading coach, Sarah Galati, and our math coach, Erica Ballas, to determine what students need and how to best deliver that supportive instruction. In order for intervention to be successful, interventionists must be able to build positive relationships with their students. And I think that's the most exciting part for all of us to see, the wonderful way that they interact with their students. They help them connect to the content in a way that, sometimes in a new or different way, that will make sense to the students. And it's wonderful to see the interventionists working with their students, talking and laughing with them, and helping to support them in such positive ways. So even though they're not here, I hope maybe they're watching on the stream. Thank you, interventionists. Your work is so important and appreciated. Several of our interventionists weathered COVID with us over the years, and during the COVID years, and they were very supportive and found a way to interact with kids even through video and all the crazy things that we had to do during that time. So I just want to say thank you to that group of special individuals and let them know that they're making a difference in the lives of our students.
Thank you very much. Round of applause. Thank you to all of the interventionists, and we're really appreciative and thankful to have them with us. I think this team seems like it's grown, but we all know it's very important to have this small group work. Did you want to add anything, Dr. Macri?
No, again, thank you to them. They're wonderful. Our students need support. They need remediation. They need to be, we need to accelerate all at the same time. Because of COVID, we always had an interesting way of tackling these issues, and it became more interesting with COVID and challenging. So I do appreciate the flexibility, the hard work, and doing whatever we need them to do so that they can meet the needs of our students. And thank you to everyone who schedules and trains them and everything else.
All said. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I just want to go back to approval of the agenda. We need to approve the agenda, so is there a motion to do so? Made by Jen, second by Alan. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. The agenda is officially approved. Celebrating our students. Oh, you can, I guess, stay right there.
I'm going to just stay right here.
We have the WIS Kid Governor.
The WIS Kid Governor. So I'm going to invite fifth grader Brooklyn to come up and stand with me. Brooklyn is here with her family tonight, and she is our Woodside Kid Governor. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about the process that we went through this fall at Woodside, and then we're going to hear a little bit about Brooklyn, and we're going to see her campaign video. All right, forgot I have the remote here. Okay, so some of you have seen this before. Every year for the past maybe 6 years or so, Woodside has participated in the Connecticut Kid Governor program. And basically, it's a mock election where all students learn about the three branches of government, voting rights, leadership qualities, identifying community issues, and they have the potential to run a campaign and design a platform. And then each of our 7 classrooms, they elect one one person from each classroom, and that person creates a team who creates a campaign video. And then we participate in a class and school election to nominate and elect our WIS KidGov. And then that KidGov goes into the state running. Just a quick shot here of we try to make it a true experience for students in terms of filling out ballots, watching campaign videos, talking with students about watching the video and really thinking about what the platform of what each candidate is saying, and then making a choice based on what you're hearing and what you think would be best for our school. Multiple curriculum connections to social studies and even more. All right, now to the good part. So I have Brooklyn here. Brooklyn is a 5th grader, and her platform was to eliminate vaping and smoking. And so we're going to watch her video. Shall we? All right. And just to a note, all of the videos that each of the classrooms produce, those are all kid created. So they come up with the ideas. They do the shoots in different locations throughout the building. You can see they recruited Mrs. Hanson, our nursing coordinator, to get her expert opinion on smoking, and also had an element of humor in there, which was fantastic. So her team did a great job.
You did such a great job, Brooklyn. We're so proud of you. This was such an important mission to speak about, and I hope that you've shared this with all of your friends. It sounds like you have, and you'll continue to do so. I can also see that you're into acting. You said you're going to be in Peter Pan coming up, so I think that probably helped you a lot in this. Do you agree?
Mm-hmm.
I think Brooklyn wanted to make a comment, if that's
Great.
okay.
Absolutely.
I enjoyed campaigning for KidGov here at WIS, and I look forward to more exciting events in the Cromwell Public Schools.
And we look forward to it as well. Thank you so much. Does anyone have any comments or questions for Brooklyn?
Brooklyn, you're a role model for all of our students, and if you could keep pushing this message, because I think what happens sometimes, the older kids get, they think that the dangers are not as strong as they are, and they are very serious. So if you can keep pushing this for me and get a lot of your friends to do it too, not just for me, but for everyone, I greatly appreciate it. And
Thank
good
you.
for you. You did a beautiful job.
Keep those lungs healthy for all the sports
Yeah,
you're playing.
That's right. And all the plays you're going to do.
Do you want to take a photo op? You said
Sure.
Brooklyn's families here?
Absolutely,
Okay,
yes. Thank
sure.
you.
Thank you.
You could use the nice.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Next on our agenda is public comments. And before I read, sorry, correspondence. Now we'll move on to public comments. And before we do, I'll read the rules for public comments. If there's anyone that would like to come speak for public comments, please raise your hand and I'll read the rules. Okay, I'll read the rules first and then you can come up and state your name and address. Individuals are welcome to address the Board of Education for up to 3 minutes each during the public comment portions of the meeting, but board members will not generally engage in dialogue. The Board of Education chair may, at his or her discretion, extend the time for public comments. Speakers must come to the podium and share your name and address. To facilitate efficient sharing of your comments, we encourage you to share any comments you may have about instruction, discipline, or learning materials, first with your student's teacher, then principal, and followed by the superintendent before bringing the comments to the Board of Education. However, if you do not believe your comments have been addressed appropriately, or if you believe they should be shared with the Board of Education for any other reason, please feel free to do so. Any complaints or concerns about individual Cromwell Board of Ed employees should be directed to the superintendent and the Board of Ed in writing, rather than in public comments at Board of Education meetings. All comments must not include personal attacks, and comments cannot be discourteous, threatening, vulgar, or otherwise inappropriate. The board chairperson may, at his or her discretion, curtail any public comments or terminate any such individual's privilege of address at any time. If they violate any of these rules, violate reasonable standards of decorum, are boisterous or repetitious, the Board of Education reserves the right to limit public comments to particular topics. And the Board of Education values the well-being of our students and families. Those electing to make public comments at a Cromwell Board of Education meeting are strongly discouraged from sharing identifiable information of their children in such comments, including but not limited to name, age, and learning ability, and are reminded that any comments made during a Cromwell Board of Education meeting become a permanent matter of public record that may be accessible by individuals in the future. As such, any person making public comments during a Cromwell Board of Ed meeting is solely responsible for the information they choose to share. We kindly ask that you consider the privacy of your family and your children while making comments. With that said, if you'd like to come on up and state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes for your comment, please.
Hi, I'm Tom Delarada, 10 Northridge Drive, Cromwell. I don't necessarily have comments. I was reading the minutes from last Board of Ed meeting, and I saw the notes about the shed on the West property. I'm here to offer background or history on that. I'm the one who actually got the shed back in about 2008, 2009 when I was on the Little League board. I was in charge of the girls minors, and we were using the fields at West for practices and games. And when I joined the board, the Little League board, all the focus was on the boys, so I was there to put focus on the girls. I have 3 daughters, so it was something I wanted to do. And one of the things was to get a storage shed for equipment and things at WIS to make it easier for the players and the coaches to get what they needed. I worked with John Manville. I don't know if he's still around. I'm going to throw names out there. They could be around. They may not be around. I know Bo Ryan was the principal at WIS at the time. I worked with him. I mean, he was great. He was very supportive. I petitioned to the Board of Ed at the time. I went before Planning and Zoning to get it approved. That was kind of a challenge if anybody's dealt with Planning and Zoning, but it happened. It worked, and I actually worked with Sue Shine, who was in charge of Park and Rec at the time. So I got money from the Little League board. I got half of the money, and the Park and Rec contributed the other half because they wanted to use it for their activities, their youth soccer and things like that they had at the WIS fields. So that's the background on it. I mean, I'm happy to answer any questions that I can remember. I mean, it was quite a few years ago. However, like I said, I was in charge of, I got the shed through Colorado Farms and arranged it for delivery, et cetera. John Manville, I know that their discussion really is about the flooding of the shed. I don't recall that being a problem when I was on the board. I wasn't on it much longer after probably 2007, 2008. So I really don't know what happened with it after that. But John Manville, I think, was instrumental in kind of choosing the location of that shed. So again, those are my comments. I mean, I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any now or at a later time. But I
Okay.
just wanted to, I read the minutes. I saw
Okay.
that it was out there, and I figured I would, give you what I knew.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. I'm sure Dr. Mackey will
Yes.
have questions. So
I
if you
feel highly enlightened now. Thank you so much, Mr. Delarada.
do you want to share information with
Yeah,
Alessandra?
do you mind if sharing your phone number or email address with Alessandra, just in case
No, that's
I
fine.
need to ask any questions? And now that I know I can call Bo too, you got him into this. It'll just be really helpful so that we know how to move forward.
Yep.
Great.
Understood.
Thank you
And-
so much. We
Yep.
appreciate this.
Sure. Anything I could do.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Are there any other public comments? Good evening. Is that microphone on? I'm sorry, it sounds a little quiet.
Hold it. There you go.
Thank you.
Sorry. Good evening. My name is Stephen Heisman, 28 Wildwood Road in Cromwell. To keep everything kind of short and concise, I wrote some notes down here. I'm just going to go ahead and read those notes. I have a child in kindergarten here at ECS, and my wife and I were born and raised in Cromwell and attended Cromwell Public Schools, and we chose to stay here because we received a great education through the Cromwell Public Schools. It was our experience that the administration always had the best interest of the students in mind. We've always felt that Cromwell Public Schools was a safe place for our children to learn and to grow, and that we could trust teachers and the administration to educate our children in the same environment that we were educated in. We never questioned this trust until we received an email about the correct unit on identity. While we fully support teaching our children to treat others with kindness and respect, despite our differences, we absolutely do not support teaching our children about sexual orientation or sexual identity under the guise of diversity. As outlined in multiple correspondence to the administration, the board of Ed, the book Pink is a Girl Color, and other silly things that people say, clearly is an introduction of gender identity to children. The author's website, nogenderlines.com, included on the back of the book, states their mission is to recruit a highly visible army of humans willing to proudly support transgender kids and ready to fight for their rights. The author has also stated that her mission is to expose the world to a new normal in the reference to gender, and are beginning the mission with one little book, one little soul at a time. Any reasonable person would objectively agree that the purpose of this book is to introduce the discussion about gender identity. Another book that is listed in this unit is the Great Big Book of Families, which touches upon sexuality and sexual orientation. This book talks about and shows photos of same-sex relationships. The question is, why are we touching upon sexual relationships with 5-year-olds? It provokes questions from the inquisitive little minds, and it is completely inappropriate. This is a conversation that should be had at home if the parents choose to do so. Many of the administrators we've spoken to about these books were quick to say things like, well, we have children in kindergarten with same-sex parents, or we have transgender children in the district. Well, those parents and children have the right to do as they choose. I also have the right to do as I choose as well. Just because some parents say they think these topics are a great idea doesn't mean that others do. What may be right for some may not be right for others. After all, isn't this why we keep religion out of school? These are personal beliefs, and my child does not need to learn personal beliefs of any teacher or any administrator that does not align with mine. Besides from personal beliefs, there's a major issue with Cromwell Public Schools proposing to teach sexual health education outside of the guidelines of the Connecticut School Department of Education's guideline for sexual health education. Section 2 of these guidelines clearly defines sexual orientation and gender identity of components that fall under sexual health education. Section 2 continues to state, sexual orientation and gender identity and expression should be a component of sexual health education and included in developmentally appropriate fashion as specified in Section 3 of the Connecticut Guidelines. Section 3 of the Guidelines provides sexual health education curriculum framework based on grade level and does not include the mention or introduction of gender identity or sexual orientation in grades K through 4.
Mr. Heinzman, sorry to interrupt, but we're at 4 minutes. So are you coming to a close?
I can have my wife finish if you'd like, or I can finish in less than 2 minutes.
Okay, feel free.
Okay. Since these topics clearly do not fall within the state guidelines, they need to be removed from the curriculum as they are not developmentally appropriate. Lastly, in an email about the books to the administration stated, unfortunately, these topics are not on the approved list of things that students can be exempt from if they are educated in public school setting. We will be moving forward with the curriculum as well. We believe it does not meet state and federal we believe it does meet state and federal standards and does support 21st century skills that students need in life. These statements are false, and this is a disgusting predatory approach to teaching sexual education in kindergarten. Should the school move forward with these topics that are outside of the state standards, they will be forcing unwelcome topics onto my child while also telling me I can't exempt my child from these discussions. This is undermining our beliefs and our role as parents, and I find it offensive to force these topics on my child without consent. We need the board's help to restore the transparency and trust in Cromwell Public Schools that made so many of us choose to live in this town. I thank you for looking into these matters and would like to leave you with a few words to consider while determining your stance on this topic. Sex and children. Sex and children. Do any of you honestly think that these words should be associated?
Okay, thank you for your comments. We have all received your correspondence and we take it under advisement. Is there anyone else here for public comment? Oh, okay.
Matt Brown, 7 Court Place. My name's Matt Brown, and I'm also one of the Cromwell LGBTQ plus committee chairs. I lived in Cromwell for over 13 years and have 2 kids in the Cromwell school system. Similarly, my spouse and I we went to college and then we chose to stay here afterwards to raise our family. One of the reasons why we've stayed and continue to love Cromwell is the schools. We have found that the teachers, staff, and administration create welcoming environment for all students. This includes helping students know that there aren't limits to their potential and everyone should be given an equitable environment to grow, meeting them where they are to do it. They provide a curriculum that allows that as well. The benefit of books like Pink is a Girl's Color and other silly things people say in the curriculum helps teach kids that they don't have to be limited by what they may have heard on what they see on TV or movies. Stereotypes, especially for children, can have a huge impact. For example, women make up 28% of the workforce in science, technology, engineering, and math. And one of the stereotypes the book confronts is science is for boys. Clearly, as a society, this is something that girls and women have heard for years, and it takes confronting these stereotypes head on to help make an impact there. Additionally, all too often, clothes, colors and style of clothes can be classified as girls or boys. This negatively impacts all kids, especially kids in the LGBTQ plus community. Kids should have the freedom to wear what they want, that they're most comfortable in, as long as it complies with the school dress code, without concern of what other kids might think. By addressing these stereotypes in early elementary schoolers, we are creating an environment that will foster learning and growth for all children. Children will only be able to succeed if they feel like they have a school environment that sees them for who they are and accepts them. There is an escalating trend over the past few years that attacks on the existence, freedom, and dignity of LGBTQ plus individuals, and we should ensure our schools are creating support for all students to be accepting and supportive of each other. The book ends with the sentiment, all people should be free to be, which honestly is something that I think we should all take away, not just these kindergartners. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other public comments?
Good evening.
Is the microphone on? There should be a red light.
There we go.
Thank
Can you
you.
hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Lana DuPont. I don't have children in the Cromwell public school system anymore, thank God. I did have 3 children. One is here with me today, and the other 2 are not here with me. I have twins, and I'm the proud mother of twin transgender women. They went through the Cromwell school system, and although I do have notes here, it's impossible for me not to comment on what I've just heard. My children, starting in kindergarten, were stabbed with pencils. They were bullied relentlessly from kindergarten all the way through till the day they graduated high school. When they went to school here, they were not out as transgender. They actually were out as gay. I had no help from the BoE. I spoke to the BoE. I spoke to the safety committee. I spoke to the school police to no avail. I'm proud to say that my children are extremely successful today. They're models. They're on their way right now to Italy to work for Gucci again. That's not because of the Cromwell school system. They didn't have these kind of books then. They didn't have teachers that cared. I know some of the teachers in the school system because, like Matt, I was the co-chair of the LGBTQIA plus committee here in town, and they're making strides. I can assure you as a parent, no one, as much as I love my children and would not change a thing, is wishing for their children to be anything but themselves. We're struggling to try and understand how to navigate. And no one certainly says, I wish my kids were transgender or gay. No one is wishing that. But I love my children unconditionally and will continue to do that for the rest of my life. And I'm here today and will be here every single time. My children graduated 10 years ago. 10 years ago. Nothing significant has happened to make change for these children that need it. They need your help. I'm asking you to help. No one's saying that we're promoting anything. I read this book. There's no such thing going on. There's no such thing going on. Also, are we not supposed to teach our children to be kind to others, to people that are not like us? Is that what they teach us in church? Is that not what we're supposed to do? I truly hope that this book isn't taken out of the curriculum. I think it's really, really sad that this is what we're going to worry about in our schools. Teach your children whatever you want at your house. I hope it's kindness towards everyone. Nobody's saying that you can't do your thing, but these kids all need to understand that we all have to exist together.
All right, let's keep it to public comment. Should not be between the audience members. Just address us, please.
My kids went all through school here, and at 5 years old they started with the
okay.
stabbing. My
Thank
my
you.
daughter
I really
did-
appreciate your comments, but I'm going to have to end it. Okay,
Okay,
it's been
well,
beyond the 3 minutes, but I do appreciate
I
it.
appreciate you listening to my comments.
Thank you. Should we end public comments altogether? All right. Are there any other public comments?
Check. Hi, my name is Bill Thompson. I'm a proud grandfather of 4 in Cromwell here. I raised 3 kids that went through the school system. was very happy with Cromwell school system. I think the issue here, and wow, listen to what we're hearing, and I feel very, very sorry for her. I feel sorry for her that she had to go through some of the bullying she went through. It's not right, we know that. But there are a lot of other ways to handle that besides you teachers. And I know you're not teachers here, I'm just saying besides teachers and superintendents putting sex in our curriculum with little children. Now, I don't know anybody here that wouldn't think that's a perversion. I mean, I'm older than most of you here, and I grew up where if you put any of that with our kids, sex and kindergartners, you'd be in jail. And that's the way it was. You'd be in jail. That's sexual assault on kindergartners. And you don't take away a parent's right to do what's right. You want to talk about diversity. There's a ton of diversity in our school. Everybody's different. We just heard from a couple different people. But you choose to make this a one-way street where you're going to teach sex to kindergartners, sexual subjects, sexual compliance to kindergartners. I mean, if we think of those two words, kindergartners and sex, what happened to us? Who all of a sudden said, it's okay? I know this woman, she said her children got bullied. That's terrible. But you can prevent that kind of stuff. And you can't prevent it by teaching kids about, at 5 years old. These kids want to color pictures. They want to learn numbers. You guys have, I mean, I don't know about the board here, but the teachers, they don't have any skills. They don't have any rights. They're not sexologists or anything else or pediatric sexual guidance counselors. They're none of that. There's an ideology here that's being pushed in our public schools. Remember, public schools are an association. We all pay taxes. And I know the state funds the schools, but they fund them with our taxes. So there's somebody over here that thinks a certain way and somebody that thinks this way. You can't push one direction. First of all, I don't think sex and I don't think politics and I don't think any of that should be in our public school systems. But for some reason, they're pushing these things. Sex and kindergartners. Would you want to send your kindergartner over to me and we'll talk about sex? Well, we don't want to send our kids to school and have the teacher talk to them about sex. This is messing kids up. They don't want to know about this. You think, I don't know what you're thinking, but if I was a board member, I'd be banging my fist on the table saying, no way. We'll never teach our kids about this in school. This is the parents' job. These are all parents. They have kids. They don't want you teaching their kids about sex. Maybe she did. I don't know. But these people don't. They want to teach.
And we're at our 3 minutes, and so I'm going to have to ask you to wrap your public comments up, but I appreciate you taking the time.
So, once again, I mean, I shake my head. I'm 60 years old. I've seen my kids grow. I've seen, I've come from a big family. I can't believe it's gotten to this point where you guys accept, or people don't accept. I can't believe you're not bashing your fist on the desk right now saying this is not right. This should not be taught in our schools. And anybody that thinks those books aren't exactly what we're talking about here, either you're real naive,
all right,
or you're predators.
Again, we're going to have to end this.
Thank you very much.
Right. Is there anyone else that would like to come up for public comments?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jessica Lamb. I'm sorry, I'm out of breath. I ran here from another meeting. I'm a cisgender female. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I live at 12 High Ridge Road. And first, I did send an email, and so I have some comments that I've submitted, but I would like to respond. Gender and gender identity, gender expression has absolutely nothing to do with sex. I just want to make sure that that's clear and that the board and our teachers, staff, our families understand that. I gotta catch my breath. It's very different, and I hope that everyone that's here tonight actually had an opportunity to read the book that's in question. My comments submitted tonight are actually more about personal experience. It doesn't have this book has nothing to do with being LGBTQ. It's just about being open and not limiting ourselves in terms of what students are capable of and who they're going to become. Pink is a girl color. I'm sorry, it's not. I can find multiple pictures on the internet of people like Pierce Brosnan as James Bond and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson wearing pink. That's perfectly okay. If science was actually just for boys, I would not have become an engineer. This book is about teaching us that those are not limiting us. It's nothing to do with sex. There is nothing about physical paraphernalia that we have as people. It's simply about being good people to one another, teaching each other respect, and helping students actually work through that. And how do you identify when, you know what, pink isn't a girl color. There's colors everywhere. So I encourage the folks that are here in the room to actually read the book. I hope you had an opportunity to do that. And I just want you to know that I fully support a curriculum that teaches our kids about gender identity, gender expression. We need books like this, other books like this in different grade levels. Kindergarten is okay. I teach my 3 sons, who I believe at the moment are cisgender, to be accepting people. I want them to learn that there are women in our lives that are going to be leaders. They might be surrounded by them today. So for a book like this, I think it's critically important to have it as part of our curriculum. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we do need to move on with our meeting, so I think we're going to wrap up public comments for now. I don't want to be redundant. I think we've heard many viewpoints and appreciate everyone who came out tonight to express them. So we will move on to our report from student representatives. Would you like to start at the middle school? We can start on this side. Jack, sorry.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember your name.
Yeah, so at CMS, the 7th grade had a food drive, which I think I talked about last Board of Ed meeting. So the 7th grade focus classes of Mr. St. Ange and Mrs. Pavlik hosted a drive from October 11th through the 17th. All donations were given to Hinka's Cupboard, which is a grassroots food pantry that operates outside of the basement of St. Francis Church in Middletown. The pantry serves any and all local residents in need, which includes the people from Middletown, Portland, Cromwell, etc. The goal of this project was to raise awareness about the plight of others, namely with regard to local food insecurity, and teach our students the values of compassion and empathy through service-related work. Moreover, the project also reflected our school's wide SOAR matrix, which reflects our character values. Students prepared for the drive itself for 2 weeks, taking on a multitude of jobs, from composing formal letters to local businesses in order to seek support, to creating artistic flyers and posters to advertise, to writing handwritten cards and to teachers and staff in order to bolster participation, just to name a few roles. About 75 7th graders worked on this project. As a school, after 5 days of the drive, we collected 1,592 items as a school.
On Friday, November 11th, CMS held a whole school assembly to honor veterans. The select choir sang the Star-Spangled Banner, and the 7th and 8th grade band performed a medley of service songs, which included Anchors Away, the Marines hymn, and the U.S. Air Force tune. Also, Taps was performed by Aaliyah Sinkway and David Waskovis. Additionally, all students had the opportunity to listen to stories of 3 veterans, Anthony Salvatore, William Heaney, and Ashton Haswell. It was a wonderful way to commemorate Veterans Day as a Cromwell Middle School community. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. The CMS Drama Club is excited to announce that this year's production will be Mary Poppins. The auditions will be starting November 29th, 30th, and December 1st, and performances will be March 24th and 26th.
Thank you both. Are there any questions for our student reps? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the high school. Olivia?
For general announcements, teachers held parent conferences both virtually and in person. It was a success. Students watched the Veterans Day ceremony in the town hall virtually and were encouraged to wear camo or clothing related to the military branches. Both choir and band participated in the assembly, and Izzy Coit, a senior, spoke. Spanish National Honor Society had their induction ceremony yesterday. National Honor Society hosted a Veterans Day breakfast in the cafeteria. They are also participating in a Munson's chocolate fundraiser. CHS planned a school trip to the historically black colleges and universities college fair today at Mohegan Sun. And the Powder Puff Seniors versus Juniors game was held today after school, and the second game is to be expected on Monday, November 21st against Rocky Hill at Rocky Hill High School.
The fall sports season has come to an end. The football team sadly lost their winning streak while playing against Rockville on Thursday the 9th. They will play on the 23rd of November against Rocky Hill. The boys soccer team won the game against Bacon Academy on Friday the 10th, meaning that they will play in the semifinal game sometimes this week. Ace Kenny made first team all conference. The girls soccer team won the game against Ansonia on Thursday the 9th. They had a game which will determine whether they get into the semifinals soon. Lily Kenny, Olivia Lusitani, and Cameron Hickey made first team all conference. Lily Kenny also got goalie of the year. April LeBlanc and Audrey Dana made second team all conference, and Katie Barber received honorable mention. The girls volleyball team officially finished their season, and Bryn Kovacs received honorable mention, and the girls and boys cross country team season ended last week with the state opens. Dylan Bathrick, a sophomore, made second team all conference.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Okay, hearing none, I did just want to mention also that I received some correspondence that would fall into the public comment portion, but I was not going to read them all as it was lengthy, and they will be attached to the minutes. And they were from Suzanne Rutner, Ciara Stone, and Beth Felsigno. And those were all in support of the book that was mentioned this evening. Moving on to reports of liaisons from Town Council and Board of Finance. I don't think anyone is here this evening, so we will also talk about the building committee, which you should have a copy of in reference C. I moved that item up just to keep it with the liaison reports. So we do have the report prepared by Rosanna Glynn, and I'm sure you've all had a chance to read through it. Looks like they're looking at Concept A for the building, and their next meeting is tomorrow night. We do also have Jessica Lamb here, who is on that committee, so if anyone did have any questions, now is a good time, and maybe she would respond. Are there any questions on this report? Okay. And we also have an update from Catherine Russ about the field committee meeting.
Hi. So since Reno Farisi couldn't make it and Kelly Maher, our assistant chair, couldn't make it, I'll provide the update. The athletic field committee was approved by town council for funding of $200,000 for two parts to our project. One part being an assessment of all the fields at Cromwell High School, and the second part being an assessment of the drainage, because that's a huge problem at most of our fields, but this one is sticking with just all of the high school fields. So the next step in that process for us is for approval by town council, Board of Finance, and that will be this Thursday night, and then we'll have another meeting in December. Hopefully all is approved and we can start moving forward with getting someone to actually perform these assessments for us. So,
Sounds good. Any questions? Thank you. And we'll move on to the superintendent's updates and responses to Board of Ed comments, action items from the prior meeting. Dr. Macri.
I've sent you all the updates. I send them to you weekly. But I just really want to talk about our Veterans Day ceremony. I worked in a district where all students had Veterans Day off, and coming to a district 4 years ago where students come to school on Veterans Day is unbelievable to me. A huge thank you to our administrators, our staff, our music teachers, our band directors, everyone. Going from school to school and then going to town hall and watching our students perform and going to the breakfast and having so many veterans attend. I cannot tell you how many tears I saw from our veterans just to feel the respect that they deserve from our students, and our students truly learning so much about why we celebrate Veterans Day. And we have 4 students here, and I know they're probably thinking, my friends had the day off at another district. But you've come right up. It's probably been like the last 10 years where we've had school on Veterans Day. And I guess I'm just enthralled by everything that you're learning and how we celebrate our veterans. And I just want you to know that I'm so proud of all of you and everything that you do. and that we did for our veterans. They were very, very happy. And it was really nice to make their day extra special. And we were running late, so I would admit I have an expense. My poor band, high school band and choir was running late from Town Hall to Covenant Living, and they were supposed to stop at McDonald's, and they weren't going to make it. And I saw poor Mr. Schmidt stressing out, and I said, "Can I help you?" He said, "They're not going to be able to eat." I said, "Don't worry, I will get them pizza." We got them pizza delivered, and we put it on the Board of Education credit card, $261, so that our students can eat. But it was a great day, and I'm just so proud of all of you. And I hope you learned a lot. Is there anything you want to share? Like, how do you feel about coming to school on Veterans Day, besides the fact that you don't get to sleep late? It's always been for you, right? You've always done it.
I honestly don't mind it. I love coming in and like being able to like experience, because like you do forget the meaning of it when you go home and take the day off. So I personally enjoy it.
Great. Thank you. I agree with you, Liv.
Okay. Any questions for Dr. Macri? Okay, we'll move on to presentations and reports of administration. The 2022-2023 budget update, reference A in your packet. Ms. Burke, if you'd like to come up.
Good evening. We've put in your packet the month ended for October 31st. Still really early in the year, and we're about where we should be. These numbers will change as the year goes by, as not every single expense that we have is already encumbered, but the vast majority of them are. For example, the culinary arts program, we're getting a new kitchen, but so those supplies that they need on a semester basis will be ordered later in the year. So this is where we stand right now. And as I said, this is about typical for this time of the year. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have for any of the lines or the objects, or just general financial questions that you might have.
I was just curious if this includes the recent water main break issue, or if
This does not.
Okay.
But that was a very minimal expense.
Okay.
So not concerning in the scheme of the overall budget.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Catherine, and then Lori.
I'll just keep it to two for now. There's a large increase in our tuition, which I'm assuming that people transportation goes along with that.
Yes.
But also, did we include the Effective School Solutions in any of these forecasted numbers? And what is causing the large increase in our tuition?
Tuition is driven by special education. So increases in special outplacements and other expenses associated.
Unanticipated increases then, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So what we budget for when we do our budget is based on the current student population at that time. So in
Catherine,
any
that was
given
a
year.
year ago. Like, as when we budget a year in advance. So
we've
budget on our population a year in advance just because we have to. So this is something that all districts struggle with, and thank goodness.
Are they all increasing in their special ed?
Yeah,
I feel like we
remember
went up
last-
a lot last year in special ed, and we're going up again.
That's
Yes,
correct.
that is correct.
And I was at a meeting of the board of directors for CASBO, which is my professional group, and every business manager in that room, we're all experiencing the same increases in tuition. So it is definitely a statewide struggle.
Because we're not seeing an increase in student population.
We have a lot of, we're not the only ones, and there's a lot of conversation and legislation going on about how can we possibly get more help to help all school districts, because we are seeing an increase, and obviously we want our students to get everything that they need, but it's very costly. We will continue to have conversations with legislators about how they can possibly help us, but right now no extra help has come our way.
Are you all set with your questions, Catherine?
Yeah.
Okay. Lori?
Just on the kitchen, I don't know if you are able to answer this question, but with the status, are we on track for on the timeline that was told to us before for the kitchen to be ready?
Yes, we were supposed to be opening it hopefully by January 1st. Then we were told that we thought we might see it open in mid-December. I think the electrical panel is the part that is still in question. So keeping our fingers crossed for the mid-December date, but January 1st is looking, or January 2nd is looking more like the date. Tommy's not here this evening, but I could definitely check with him tomorrow and get back to you in the update. Yeah, sure.
'Cause I just feel like we've been promised dates and it keeps getting moved. Now we're going to be halfway through the school year.
Yeah, you know, it has a lot to do with that electrical panel that's on, back order with so many different manufacturers. But we did find one that said they would get it to us sooner. So I'll find out where we are with that and let you know.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Matt?
So I know ESS is slated to start soon. I'm assuming we have not paid them yet? Like we haven't had to give them any money yet?
We have not paid.
When we do, where is this, like what line item is that going to fall under?
It'll fall under other professional technical services.
Okay.
It could also fall under pupil services, but Sari and I will talk about the best classification. We do have a big book of guidance that we can look at, but it will fall under that purchase services. It will not fall under tuition.
Okay. And again, the hope is that this will actually help curtail some of the tuition. We're hoping.
Yes.
Any other questions for Ms. Burke? Okay, thank you. Old business, we have none. New business, item A, discussion and possible approval, relocate Little League shed at West. Do we have anyone here for that topic?
No, I think we can take that off of we put it on because we said to put it on again, but I believe that Jim Vincetti and Jason LeBlanc are working on it with the town through Parks and Rec. So as of now, we haven't heard anything back. They're still talking about perhaps rising it. So until we hear back from them that it has to come on the agenda, I think we're done with it for now.
Okay, so we'll table it until I know what the official name of eliminating.
Yeah, we have no idea.
The item would be.
Yeah.
Does anyone know what that would be? Eliminating an item versus tabling it?
We could keep
Is there a proper
tabling it
term?
until we get more info. But yeah.
I just don't know the proper word for
Well, I'll find out.
just removal. Okay. Do we need a motion for that? No, right? No. Okay. Item B, discussion and possible action. School calendar 2023-2024, reference B in your packet, and we also have copies of the current year school calendar. Is this it?
Yes. So
If
you're
anyone would like
getting,
a copy.
you were sent in your packet the 23-24 calendar, and you are just being provided with the 22-23 calendar just so that you can reference back. There's a few things that I'd like to draw your attention to. That obviously you set the calendar, so I want you to be able to make these decisions. One, Columbus Day is technically still called Columbus Day, and it is a national holiday. However, there was a proclamation submitted on October 8th, 2021, recognizing Indigenous People Day by the President of the United States. The national holiday is still Columbus Day. A lot of districts, what they've been doing, calendars that I've looked at, have either gone with Indigenous Peoples Day or have done Indigenous Peoples Day and Columbus Day. It is up to you how you would like to keep that, how you would, if you'd like to change it to Indigenous Peoples Day and Columbus Day, if you'd like to keep it Columbus Day, if you'd like to change it to Indigenous Peoples Day, that is up to you and your decision. I just want to make sure that we do it correctly. That's the first thing. The second thing I'd like to draw your attention to is that we made, and it could cause a problem with our calendar if we have too much snow, but Juneteenth, June 19th, is an official holiday, so we will not attend school. We talked about, if we should attend school, how could we make it so that it's a learning opportunity? But the problem is that time of year is so filled with so many different things going on, and we don't know if our kids will be here or won't be here. So we could put all this effort into creating something, and we may not have students at school that day. That doesn't mean that they won't have an opportunity to learn about it. It just means it's more realistic to observe that holiday and not come to school based on just the way that it falls in our calendar. We did observe it this year, but there were no students, so it was easier. Everyone, the staff who works 12 months did get it as a paid holiday. However, we didn't have any issues as far as students. We may, and I think it's our best bet to observe the holiday. With our luck, we'll have school until June 20th, and a day off the day before. So that's the other thing. You'll notice everything else, we tried to streamline the calendar for you so that it's easier to read. Thank you to Lisa Hicks for doing that. You will notice there are 25 early dismissal days. I am asking the board to, I know we've talked about this, and this has been a conversation, and I need to hear from you. I would like to continue to have those professional development days. There has been a request from the EAC to consider adding 4 more, which would make it 29 days. I also am trying to be respectful of what our staff needs as far as professional development, and what our students need, and what our parents need. So I think that should be a conversation that you should have as well. As of now, my proposal is for the 25 days. This year, current year right now, we have 26 PD days, which is time well spent. Our teachers, there's a lot that's going on, and we obviously have students from all different, so it's kind of a catch-22, right? And that's something you have to think about. We have students that we're trying to meet them where they are, right? So we have to plan to meet them where they are. And then at the same time, we have to have them here. So it is a conundrum that you get to decide on. And the other thing that I want to draw your attention to, lastly, is the parent-teacher conference days. So we have been out of compliance at the secondary level. There's a statute that says that we must allow parents to meet with teachers 2 times a year. So it means same parents twice a year. So we've been doing that at the elementary school, not at the secondary levels. And when it was drawn to my attention, COVID hit, and we were doing things virtually, and parents and teachers were meeting quite often through virtual communication. But it's time that we fix everything officially on the calendar. We don't have a choice. It's statutory. So we're proposing November 1st, 2nd for CMS and CHS. One evening, so we'll have early dismissal on both of those days. So for example, let's start with that so you fully understand it. Yeah, so the problem with this and with this calendar is if you look at November 1st, if you go to Tuesday, it's Halloween. So we have a problem there with Halloween. That doesn't mean we can't change it next year and have a day in between. We've heard from some people, and I can't say, I've heard from the teachers union, but when I asked how many teachers would like that the day in between, we were unsure. But some people like to get them out of the way 2 days in a row and get them done, and some people would like the day in between. They are not 2 nights in a row. So I think that has to be, make sure that you understand. So if we were to look at November 1st and 2nd on the new calendar, so students would be dismissed at 11:30 at secondary, and at elementary they'd be dismissed at 12:10. Students would leave. Teachers would have start their day with conferences at about 1 o'clock. They would go until about 7 p.m. and they would schedule their own dinner or break, whatever they need. The next day is not an evening conference. So you end the school day with a half-day release, and then we start conferences right away, and teachers only go to their contracted time. So it's not 2 evenings in a row. Some teachers like the split in between the day. Others, it doesn't really technically matter. The only problem that we're running into is October 31st is Halloween in that situation. So I propose for this year, we leave it as is. And November 8th and 9th, we kind of have the same conundrum with Election Day. So no one will be here on the 7th. So we have an issue just because of the way it is. So
I appreciate the new format for the calendar. However, it's slightly confusing. For example, on these days of the 1st and the 2nd, we know CHS and CMS would be half day for conferences. However, it does not tell us what the other schools will be doing. Are they early release on that Wednesday or not? We can't code that. You see what I'm saying?
no, if there's no purple, see what I mean? If there's
So
no,
they'd have a full day of
it
school?
would be a full day of school. Yep, it's only where there is, if there's nothing, the assumption, it's always default to a full day. So if there's no purple, we have so
Okay.
many, it is confusing.
Well, and most of these, everyone prints them out in black and white. So if we try printing this in black and white, see what it looks like?
I'd be more, than happy to, usually people go online and look at it, just like click online and look at it. They don't really print it, but if any
I'm old
parent
school then.
or if anybody ever requested a color copy from us, we'd be more than happy
Okay.
to send one home. But usually people look at it.
I've always printed it, always.
Have you?
Yeah,
I'd be
and
more than
my
happy
kids
to-
always ask for printed copies. And I
I'd
don't
be
give them
more
color,
than
so-
happy to give any
Okay.
parents who want a color copy.
So back to some of your other issues. I know we have the conferences one to discuss, but when you were talking about that we had to make a difficult decision on with the first piece, I was confused at what decision we had to make about the Wednesdays.
So you
Are you saying that we can pull out the early release days or leave them in, or what's the discussion?
I would strongly recommend that you do not pull out the 25 that we have in here, but you wanted me to bring this forward to you every year by year, remember? Last year you asked me to bring this forward to you every year, and you wanted to look at the release days on a year-to-year basis. I am telling you that we have a lot that needs to be done still. And I don't believe that's going to go away anytime soon. And I could have Dr. McLean come up and talk about some of the things that we're looking, especially with state statute and mandates, as far as a whole new curriculum being proposed for reading at K through 5. That's not going away. So I ask you to really consider, I know it's hard for families, but we need the time with our teachers to do the planning and the professional development that they need. Yeah.
Oh, 3 went up at once. I think was it Jen? Okay, thanks.
I think you're right. Families are not super thrilled with the early dismissal. So maybe can we have a little bit of discussion about exactly how that time has been used this past year? Has it been formal PD, or has it been the teachers kind of go off and do their thing? I think it would be good for families to know what that time is being used for.
Sure. Dr. McLean will step right up. Do you want your supervisors, or no? We have every minute planned.
No, we do have every minute planned. I don't know that people love that either. But we have a very detailed professional development calendar that's on our webpage, and I can share that with you. But it does detail exactly what is happening during those times. It's not sort of extra planning time. It's PLC time, it's curriculum development time, it's professional development time.
Kelly.
So I just feel I'm not a big fan of the Wednesdays, personally as a parent. And I've heard from other staff that work in our district that it seems like a good idea at the beginning, but they feel like they don't have enough time. Like, they liked it better with the 1 half-day Wednesday every month because they had more chunk time to have a full PD instead of this little increments, and that they're not getting to meet with the groups that originally it was planned for. And I understand everything is like booked date, like time to time, but as hearing from them and as a parent, I mean, I know it was there for COVID. I know we were there for doing virtual, but I feel that it's not really beneficial for personally, the parents or the kids at the moment. I mean,
So I could be wrong, but I don't remember us taking away half days. It was my understanding that we just added the Wednesdays. We didn't take away any of the half days that are currently in.
No, we have half days that are traditionally half days, but for
we used
PD,
to have
we had two.
I thought it was every third Wednesday we had a half day of the month. No?
No.
Like a few years ago? No?
No,
I feel like
every, it was and I'm
at
sorry.
least before COVID, we definitely
Maybe it was
had-
before us, but since
Before-
I've been here, we haven't taken away any of the half days that were in the calendar. We added the early release
was on
Wednesdays
Thur-
to elementary.
Because
Maybe Ann
according
Coach
to
or
this,
Sue
it looks
Lynch.
like it's just 3 half days and then
Ann Coach or Sue Lynch.
teacher conference.
We
are
used
the
to
only
release,
half ones.
or Ramsey. Well, I'm sorry. Unfortunately, Andrew.
The high
Andrew
school
was
always
not-
had early release.
They always had early release.
Every
on
week they had
Thursdays.
early release. We added it to the
It was
elementary.
Thursday's early release, but it was never a half day.
I think you also thinking
Oh, that
of.
was only high
I'm
school.
sorry, but I think you might be also thinking of the two. If you have people that you know work in the district, the 2-hour we used to have on Thursdays. They were 2-hour PD days for teachers after the workday. I think that was on the third Thursday.
Just as a parent, I thought we always had like a half day Wednesday during the month, but I guess I'm not.
No, I do vaguely remember that
Yeah,
as well. I just
feel
don't
like
know what
we
year
had
that
half
started
days
in.
at least once a month or every
Yeah.
other month.
So I guess the question is, do you find it effective to have these 1-hour weekly PDs versus having maybe
I
more
hadn't
frequent half
contemplated
days?
another option, to be honest with you. So I just assumed that this was what we had on the table. So I didn't realize that had happened before, or that was even an option.
We weren't here when that I don't
Yeah.
remember that ever happening here, so we weren't here.
I mean,
I don't
longer
know.
stretches of time are better.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it, because once you kind of get in the zone, then it's hard to start and stop, and then by the time you get done with bus duty and it's really not an hour anyway. And so I would love to look at that.
So
I'd be
the only
open
thing
to
so the only thing that I want to make sure you understand, because every minute is accounted for, and we need every minute that we have. So, for example, something parents may not love, it's fine, and when we get get going with September, October, November, but just notice that in December, it's 3 hours of PD. So,
Well, then we still
release.
have the 2-hour PD days, so it would be.
No, they're saying get rid of the.
No, they're saying just get rid of the hour release and put in half
Right.
days.
Okay, so we would still have those,
Right,
but
we'd
then
still have the 2-hour. That's contractual.
now remember February, there's 4 early release, which would mean we would need 2 half days. Is that something that we're willing to? We thought the 1 hour was helpful to families. We, as the educators, we'd prefer to go to the half days
We would,
and
yes.
have the full. We
Yeah.
would prefer that. We were
That-
trying to do this to help families, because if someone had to leave work early to pick up their child, it wasn't as early as they would need to.
But
if
it's
it was
every
a half
week.
day. Yeah.
Okay, Laura, you had a question.
Yeah, just to be clear, I would be in favor of, instead of doing it an hour every week, but I wouldn't want to decrease any more students' time in the
Agreed,
building.
agreed.
So it would have to be a matter of, okay, you have 1 half day a month instead of 4-hour releases, so that the time doesn't increase, for the students to be losing
I
more
understand.
instructional time.
Agreed.
So I get what you guys are saying. You want to have maybe a 3 or 4 hour block, but not in addition to, because it's already, I would not go over what we already
No,
have
I-
now, because
I
I think
agree.
it's, yeah.
Why don't we have this brought back to the team, though, and you discuss with everyone and bring it back to us? Because I wouldn't want to make that decision tonight.
No, absolutely not. We would be more than happy
be
to
more
go
than
back
happy to
and
look at
figure
that.
out how to do
Yeah.
this in half-day increments
Mhm.
so that we can do half days and have it's.
I think the teachers will like that much
Yeah,
better.
everybody will
as
like
well.
it much better. It's more effective. We were doing this. It stemmed from COVID, and we just
Well, and
continued.
the secondary was always dismissed. The high school always had the early dismissal, and so it was at that point, when everybody there, like they have more time than we do, and so we,
which is interesting.
But that doesn't impact families as much because those
Agreed.
can mostly
Right.
just
I
go
think the
home.
part with the
Right.
family impact is that it's not every single Wednesday.
Exactly.
So every Tuesday night, you have to look to say, when is my child coming home tomorrow?
Yeah.
I think that's the
We'd
most.
be more than
frustrating
happy to
part.
go to half day and propose something to you.
Yeah.
At our next meeting.
You're saying that we would be required for like February and May that have 4 hour release days, that we would have to do 2 half days to make up for that.
Right.
But couldn't you just shift some things to another month?
No. Then you kick 4 in and
We could look at it. I mean, we definitely can look at it and bring you some ideas for sure. Like this was, I honestly did not think we even had that option.
Right,
So
I didn't
now
either.
that you bring that to the table and you want to look at it, this is your purview. We would be more than happy to look at it and present you with a beautiful half-day schedule.
Does
for
anyone
PD.
feel differently, or Dip, do
No,
you had a question?
I agree with that. I like the idea of that. I think it's hard for a lot of parents at those younger levels to find childcare, and especially for parents who have children with disabilities, it's very hard to find childcare. So
Yeah.
to do that every single week, it's a hardship on a lot of people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You just have to say
Yeah,
the
that will
word,
work
and
out.
we will go back
around.
and make a schedule and we'll make a couple different ones and we'll bring them to you.
So, to Selena's point of, can we move some of those in the prior, and I can see where we would kick into the conferences. Would we ever consider doing conferences on like a Monday, Thursday to eliminate the Wednesday confusion?
I am completely open to, in this situation,
We
it
might
really
not even
is-
have the Wednesday confusion
Right.
if we look at a
It-
different schedule.
Yeah, it is up
Well-
to you. I could look at different things.
I'm saying because of those 2 months where we have 4 singles, and Selena said, can we push them to another month? The
We-
2
well-
months we want to push them to, you could actually push them to have conferences scheduled on those Wednesdays.
We have to be careful. It has to, because we have marking periods, and we have to make sure that they are
Within the marking
equally-
periods?
Well, it has to be an equal amount of time in
1, 2,
between.
3.
And Ms. Cochiola, tell me if I'm wrong, right? But marking periods, we have to make sure that they're as split up, as evenly as possible throughout the year.
Or for the conferences?
The conferences.
Well, that's what I'm saying, like, the first 2 weeks in November, put it on a Monday, Thursday as an option potentially, instead of a Wednesday, Thursday.
You're talking about parent-teacher conferences.
Correct, to
Okay.
make room for the half-days.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, and it's tricky because if we're releasing on a half day, well, it might not be that tricky because then they can have 3 half days in a row.
They'd be so happy.
Oh, I know they will.
And 1 day off for
I don't know if parents will be so happy about that, though.
I don't.
know.
I don't.
I have
Well,
2
they
in
already have
elementary
that
school, and I
anyway.
know how hard it is. It's not easy.
That's how some people's
Yeah.
schedule is, and it kind of. There's no perfect answer. We could bring some ideas to you and have you. The hard part of all this is that it's really difficult to have one. You have to come up with a consensus, right? But now you see what we go through when we're trying to make these calendars. There's no perfect answer. We spend a lot of time trying to do this because we're not going to please everybody all the time. Even within our school staff, we're not going to. As it is now, administration makes it work. I don't want to, if you think it's less of a burden to parents, we would be more than happy to do half days. That I get. I think the
that-
parent-teacher conference thing, we have to look at carefully so that we don't have, like we said, election day off, then parent-teacher conference half day, then the other, so that kids are never in school that week, and parents are frustrated as to how to find daycare. But we'll bring you a few different options.
Sure.
I think the board is in agreement that we just want the time to be used to the best, and if we have all these releases in different times all the time, the kids need structure. If you have a certain amount of time, let's get the maximum out of it.
Yep.
So,
we do our best,
Yeah.
but this will make it way better.
So
Yeah,
do we
I
have to
think-
approve this by a certain date?
No, I will go back and redo it, and I'll bring
Do-
it back to you in December.
Do we want to go through all of it in December? Do
I
we want to
think-
check off some of these other things like the Indigenous People
Yeah, I
Day
think
versus
you-
Columbus Day? We can talk about that now, or might
Yeah,
as
let's
well
talk
get-
about that now. This way we could bring it back.
Oh,
to
sorry.
You.
Let's go
Sorry.
back.
I just had one question. I know we're talking about this. Is there a way like parents can get some kind of short survey or something so you can kind of gauge what they would prefer, or like, I mean,
Can of worms?
no, not a big can
So
of worms.
that's
like
a can of
something
worms
just
that
a
we
little-
don't want because it'll be completely disagree.
Well,
This is
then-
where I say to
yeah.
say to all of you, give your input. This is a nightmare.
Right.
And
You
I have
re- you
teachers who
represent
want
people.
one thing and parents who want another, and I'm trying to make the best decisions for kids and follow contracts.
Well, also, I was just telling Kelly, and unfortunately, I have 2 high schoolers left, but the high schoolers love having once a week where they get out half a day early, or a majority of them do, because it's kind of a catch-up day for them, because their workloads are significantly higher than
There
some
is
of the other grades.
no perfect schedule, no matter what we do, as you all know. Someone's not going to be happy. So putting this together is so confusing, and we gave you the best version of what we think, but I think we know we have to follow statute on how many hours that we have to have, in order to make days complete. Really to cover our curriculum. That's what we really need, to make sure that we're covering everything. And we have a good idea of what that is. We report it to the State Department every year. So we have that in mind, and then we want to work around all the other things that are difficult for everybody. But to say that it'll be, everyone will give me a high five and say, this is a great schedule, that's never going to happen. And so it alleviates a little pressure from you. Just blame me. But at the end, I am looking at all of it in a, not in a vacuum, but the big picture, because we'll never get people to agree. I know that, unfortunately, too well. So we'll go back, we'll do the half days. We will reserve the parent-teacher conference thing. I think you're telling me, I don't know how else to make it work, because if I was to go, if you look at in March, the second round, then if I was to do a day in between for elementary, March 13, 14, we could actually do, let me just double check, make sure. Yeah, there's already a half day in there for PD. Yeah. So let us take another, look at this, but yeah, we are more than happy. I was just trying, I didn't think that you would ever want the half days, but we would prefer them that way too.
So you're not increasing the time, you just
We will not increase. So that's what another thing. So we have been asked, we can always use more time, obviously, but I also understand the reality of that our kids need to be in school. So that was the second decision that I wanted you to have the discussion of. I have been asked to ask you to increase the time by 4 more hours. So I want to respect what you told me to do last year as a no, and bring it to your attention. Because when it's in your purview, I want you to make the decision. I don't want
Well,
to
let's
do that.
revisit it next year after we try this new approach, because maybe by having the half day versus the 1 hour where you can't get much done, maybe that will feel like they're getting everything they need in the time that we already allotted.
Yeah, because I was going to say, what's the reasoning for increasing it by 4 hours? But it sounds like that's tied to the idea that it's such a short period of time, they can't really continue. It's almost like the learning is broken up, right? Like whatever curriculum is that they're working on during this time, that hour's not enough to really cover it, so it's kind of broken up over those Wednesdays. It's hard to kind of follow along. I totally understand that.
Because it takes
But-
about 10 minutes to just get back on track and
Right.
remember where you left off. Yeah.
Right, but if getting it consolidated into one half day,
That
And
may be a huge
then
help.
that would actually might mitigate that and get rid of that whole need for the 4 hours.
Right. I wanted to bring it to your attention because I knew how strongly you felt about it, and this is in your purview, as Lori said, that you did not want to increase it. I wanted to let you know that some people would like more time, but I think this is going to solve the problem because we have a conundrum, right? We need our teachers to be the best and have all the PD they need, but then we also need our kids in school. So I'm hearing that you want me to stick to the half days and try to make it work with the time.
Right.
Okay.
And then just come back with either a couple of options, or if
Yep.
you've met with everyone else and you've determined an option, bring that to us.
Okay.
Yes, Jen.
This might be a stupid. My mic is really loud. This might be a stupid question, but why do we call exam week exhibition week?
Because it's going to be exhibition week from now on. Ramsey, Ms. Bingington, would you like to come up and talk about exhibition week? It's not a stupid question. We're trying something a little more performance-based with some of our students and giving them opportunities, but
That's actually exactly what our intention was, to move away from midterms and final exams towards more performance-based tasks that we talk a lot about rigor and relevance in Cromwell. And so moving from those A, B quadrants to a C, D, where it's more student-initiated, student work, student thinking, rather than it being a teacher-initiated task. So we just changed the verbiage a little bit in an attempt to make it more clear what our intentions were.
so that doesn't mean we won't ever have exams, but we want to offer our students the choice and their own voice to be heard of how they want to present the information that they've learned. So they may have.
My child has never experienced that.
Yeah, we want to move towards that. That's where we're going.
She's had exams.
Yeah, but
That's it.
we want to move towards this. But I think, well, it's new,
It
but
was
I
here
also.
last year.
I thought it was here
And
last
the
year
year
too.
before.
But I also think you have to be careful on what classes your students take too. So like if your kids are in AP classes, there's no choice but to take the AP exam. We want to shift the way we're looking at things. So for example, this year, and I wish Mr. Cockle was here, but he's not. And I'll have him talk more about it. We are getting involved with, through he spoke to you all about it at the beginning of the year, a little bit about the workforce and getting our kids out in the workforce.
Oh, career pathways.
Yeah, sorry,
Yes.
pathways. Thank you. It's been a long day. So when you are doing a pathway, when you're choosing a pathway, you should still be responsible for exhibiting the work that you've done and that you've learned. You're not necessarily going to take one assessment because it doesn't make sense. But if you're leaving school to go to work to get a credit, because that's eventually where we want to get to, right? That you still have to then come back and show us what you've learned. So the best way to do that would be to exhibit it. We are not there 100% yet. And if you have children who are taking AP, they definitely probably haven't experienced too many exhibitions to exhibit their work, because if they don't take the assessments, the exams, it doesn't count.
It also allows us a little bit of wiggle room when there are students who have 504s and IEPs in order for assessments to look different towards each individual's needs.
So they would still get a grade, but it's not an exam. It's a different way of
It
assigning
could be a
grade.
presentation, it could be a group project, it could be a multiple choice question. There's lots of different presentations that the assessments are looking like. So the jargon just is a little bit more all encompassing.
Right. So the idea is that students can exhibit that they know what they've learned, and every student may do it in a different manner. We'd like to eventually get to the point where all students have a choice of how, but we are nowhere near all of that right now. That's the way we kind of want to move.
Can
Like
students
they do in elementary school.
Could a student choose to just have a final exam instead of having to exhibit something? And the reason I ask that is because, like, some students prefer to just take a test and be done with it. Like, I know some students who they want to sit down, they want to study, they want to, prepare for a couple weeks beforehand, study 20, 30 minutes a night. I'm hoping some students are listening to this right now, over the
Yeah.
course of a couple weeks to prepare for an exam. And at the same time, we know there are other students who they do not demonstrate well in exams what they learned. It's not how they best show their knowledge. So I guess ultimately the question is, do they have the option to take a formal final exam instead of exhibiting something, or is everyone required to do this, to do an exhibit?
So it's looking very different grade to grade, class to class, department to department. We have some teachers who are doing a lot of student choice, and that's actually a goal. It's part of our vision, what we're working on, that student choice piece. So some teachers are offering options for those that exam showcase window, and other teachers are still at a place where this is what I need you to show me at this point in time.
That was a good question, Matt. I like that because there are some introverted students that would really opt to just take a test. And I'm not saying they should always do that, but if every class becomes an exhibition, I could see that being, not fair to that student.
So
We're
definitely
trying to
keep in mind
accommodate.
that students who have perhaps presentation anxiety, those 504s are always honored. And so in that case, again, with a 504
Well, you don't
or
always
IEP.
have a 504 if you have anxiety over
No, you might not,
presentation.
but just so
might
that
not.
we know
You
that,
might.
a student would certainly not be held accountable if they have a plan that would deviate from the
It's
typical.
really about having a discussion with the student and the teacher knowing their students. So, but remember, we also want to prepare them for the real world too. So that doesn't mean we take away how they're going to need to present in the real world. That means we provide them scaffolds, right? And how, so that they can do it with support, without support, because we don't want them to be able to leave us and say, okay, you can't work with a group of people because you are so introverted and your voice is never heard. We want to build that scaffolding in so that when they leave us, they're prepared to work. And like Ramsey said, it can look very differently at every, teachers still have autonomy. We're not taking away autonomy of that, but we also want more student choice and student voice to be there.
Thank you.
I just think it's also fair, real world,
True,
different jobs have different requirements.
Exactly.
I had to take a 3-hour test to get my teacher certification at some point.
Really? I don't remember that ever.
I'm sure. Right? But-
Mine was 6.
right, but it was that was a test. It was like studying for
We'll
an exam.
never let go of.
No, I know that, but I want to make sure that that the exhibition idea it doesn't exclude the option for an exam, because I just think there are some kids who would much prefer one and done, hour-and-a-half long final exam. I don't have to be up in front of people. I don't have to prepare, a tri-board. I don't have to do anything visual or creative because it's not my jam.
Yeah, I think that's the whole point of this, right? Is to give students the choice of how they want to demonstrate their, what they know. There might be assignments, and it may not be the final exam where they have to do something to bring them out of their comfort zone. But I think the whole purpose of the exam piece is how can I best express what I know? And I don't think any of that, we're not going to see that anytime soon, as far as that. And I think that's something between the teacher and the student, working that out.
Okay, so let's go back to the other questions we had to address on the calendar. Indigenous people versus Columbus Day. Do we want to make a decision on that? I'm going to reference what Dr. Macri printed out.
Tried to get as much
read it.
information for you. You could read about it over the next month and make.
Oh, so you want to wait on that?
I don't mind, because at this point we're coming back with the calendar anyway. You could do your own research. Sure, and you could. This is the proclamation by our president, and it was signed on October 8th, 2021. I'll have Lisa send you this.
So the State Department of Ed hasn't told districts what to call it, so it's up, every district calls it whatever they want?
Yeah, so basically it's still considered a holiday. If you look at calendars, a lot of them, I looked at other districts, some still say Columbus Day, a lot say Indigenous/Columbus Day. Some just say Indigenous. So I think it's up to the board. I know it's up to you to make that decision. So if you want to do that same research, you just click onto districts and look at it and read about it. There's a lot of information out there as to people's thoughts. So I think educating yourselves, I'll send you stuff too, but I think you should do that on your own as well, and decide and determine as a board how you want to approach it. But a lot of them do say Indigenous Day and Columbus Day. They say both.
Sorry, why is it the board's job to name the holiday? I just feel like this shouldn't be our decision. It should be coming. I feel like the guidance should be coming from the State Department of Ed, saying this is what the holiday is called. Like, so what? Every 169 towns, everyone's gonna vote on what we're calling it.
Yeah,
It's-
I'm with you. Let's let the state
like,
call this one.
I just don't. I mean, we could talk about this for hours.
You could. Well, it's right. You can.
The official name is still currently Columbus Day. Why don't we let it lie, and then if it changes, we'll update it.
Okay. I
Does
mean, it's up to
anybody
you. That I
want
don't.
to.
I can't make that decision any more than you can.
Okay. I'm not in favor of the slash. That's wishy-washy.
It's, yeah.
Okay.
Columbus because of his actions, perceived actions. So to call it both is
Right.
And then I just don't feel like. Is it our place to name the holiday? Like,
So let them change it officially,
let them
and then
change
we'll adopt it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in this situation, it is yours because you approved the calendar. So it's completely up to you. We don't have to make any changes and leave it the way it is. But you know how I always tell you what's not in your purview? This really is.
So
and it's a hard decision, and you should be happy that there's other things that I
So
get
let's
to
just move this along. By a show of hands, who wants to keep the name Columbus Day? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we have 3. Well, we're deciding whether to just make a decision or wait. So 4 of us are ready to make a decision, and 3 would like more information.
so let's table it.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
Okay, so you're going to do some. We'll send you this, but then you'll do some research on your own, and then we'll. Okay.
Okay, and the June 19th holiday, we need to observe it. So what's the decision we need to make here?
I would say let's observe it and have school off. It's too complicated right now. That doesn't mean that in the future we don't. We just have no idea what will happen.
I mean, we'll know where we fall on the calendar come April, and we can make a change as needed.
Yeah. The hard thing is no matter where we are, especially when you make a decision for graduation day, most of our seniors are already out the door. There are a lot of our kids who would be performing, it could become an issue, but it doesn't mean we can't do it.
Okay, so we'll just table the whole calendar.
Yep. I have that's why we do this so early, because I have,
All right, so we'll move on. You did a review of Veterans Day. Do we have building principals
yep,
that
we have
want to come
building
up?
principals
Okay.
that are here to come up and do a quick review. We can start with ECS.
Good evening, everyone. Veterans Day was awesome at ECS. We had 2 ceremonies. Over 39 veterans attended. Mrs. Chapman, our music teacher, if you know her, she is to the detail. We had singing, we had poems, we had speeches, and it was really touching because we would announce the veteran and then the child who they were connected to, and some of them saluted to them. It just brought tears to your eyes. So it was very meaningful at ECS, something that we traditionally do every year. And so we're back after COVID doing it again. So
Excellent.
It was great.
Thank you.
It was a beautiful ceremony, and I have to say, the cutest thing about the whole thing, well, there's a lot of cute things, but one little boy through the slideshow that was about 3 to 4 minutes long, he sat there and saluted the entire time through the entire slideshow. I have a picture, but I don't want to embarrass him. It was very nice, and to see grandparents with their grandchildren, and it was really nice, and their parents too, moms and dads with their children.
Hi, everyone. At Woodside, we invite veterans to come into every classroom and speak directly to the students. So we had about 25 veterans visit Woodside on the day, which is fantastic. Every classroom had at least one visitor. Some classrooms had 2 or 3. Most of the visitors were linked to a student or a staff member in that room, so that was kind of special. And they took about 20 to 30 minutes. They talked about their service to the country, maybe how they ended up in that position, and a little bit of a story or anecdote about their service. And then, of course, kids always have questions too, so they answered questions. We love this model because we feel like kids are able to connect directly with a veteran, and they're realizing that veterans are, so-and-so's grandfather or uncle or brother or mother or father, and that, they're dedicating a huge part of their life to support the country and keep people safe. So that part is always very exciting and emotional. We had a period of time in the morning when many of the veterans were waiting in the office to go down and visit their classrooms, and the teachers send a student down to pick up their veteran and bring them down to the room. But just having a chance to talk with them and also hear from them that they truly appreciate the opportunity to come into the classrooms and speak directly to the kids, they appreciate that as well. So we're happy to provide that. The other piece is that all of our grade levels have different read aloud activities that they're doing within their classrooms that are all related around Veterans Day. So again, stressing the importance of veterans within our community or their commitment to our country as well. So it's a full day. It's wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. You heard from my fabulous, articulate CMS reps. They talked about Vietnam. I'm going to go into that. Our Veterans Day. Our kids talked about our whole school assembly, and that's been our format for years. So we were very fortunate to have 3 veterans come in, all tied to our kids at school. Tony Salvatore, who's also the town manager, as you know, his grandson is in 8th grade, so he came in and spoke. He was a Vietnam vet. Mr. William Haney, his great niece is in our school, so he spoke. He was also a Vietnam vet. And then Mr. Haswell, who has 2 nephews, and also his mom is our night custodian. He was an Army sergeant, so he came in and spoke about again, a different method as to why. He was also a Cromwell student and, person who lives here all his life, but talked about the importance of service. And our kids were just, they amazed me. I mean, we had 400 and something kids in that auditorium, and you could hear a pin drop when those folks spoke. So I was very proud of them. And it was very emotional. Our select choir sang our national anthem, and then our band sang, or rather performed a medley of songs, and then at the end concluded with taps and a moment of silence. So it was a really, really beautiful ceremony for the veterans. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
So Cromwell High School set the scene for the day with students and staff dressed in camp and patriotic colors. We welcome veterans in to share a breakfast with us, which was catered by Lisa Case, our fantastic CAF supervisor. We had veterans visiting our history classrooms, and we invited students who wanted to come and listen to the stories and the history behind their experiences to sit in those classes. If somebody they knew specifically was speaking in one classroom, we wanted to make it available to all. Our band and choir performed at the town hall, and we live streamed that into all of our classrooms. And that was possible because our news broadcasting crew went with the band and choir down to town hall and did all of the media and tech coverage for that. So that was really exciting. And then finally, our NHS wrote letters of gratitude to the veterans.
Very nice. So glad we're able to do our traditions that we haven't done in a couple of years and welcome veterans back into the building. And I think it's really impactful to especially the young ones where it's kind of a vague subject. So to have them right there and sharing their experiences, that's the best. Okay. We'll move on to item E, Table of Organization 2022-2023, reference D in your packet. And this is our org chart, which we do every year.
Yep. We just review this every year so that you know, and it's in the packet so that if anyone knows needs this information, I just share it with everyone.
I just have one comment.
Mm-hmm.
After a year now, I could probably fill in some of these names and some of these people. But we get the one with some actual list, the individual. I want the names.
Oh. Well, that changes so often, but
Oh.
I see what you
Well,
mean.
it doesn't have to, I mean.
Yeah.
Just
The actual.
yeah, I feel like I think Alan actually last
We
year
have it.
asked next year can we have the people's names
I think I
underneath?
sent it to you last year when you asked me for it. I have the specific.
Okay, so
I
yeah,
have,
okay,
I have,
all right.
yeah, I have this with names.
Okay.
On it. I could send
do
it to
most
you.
of them.
I think
Send it to
I
me
did,
again.
but I will.
Let me change, yeah.
I mean,
I'll
I
have
feel
Lisa
bad
send it
that
to you.
Alan doesn't know everyone's names.
I don't, yeah, I'm not.
But I wouldn't mind if you sent me one of those too.
I'll send it to usually if one board member's asked for one board, I send it to all of you. Send names with on it. Sure, no problem.
Sure, Lori.
I don't know if I asked this last year. So the paraprofessionals, they fall under the principal, so they don't report to Siri. I thought they would land under you.
There's a little dotted line there,
So
Building level is first, and then district level. So that goes for everything. So if you go to the little
see
dotted
it.
line, yeah.
No, I see it. I just was surprised that it was in that column. So
Yeah, because it's Siri's not in the building is all day.
right.
Yeah.
No,
so.
I know. It's just that they.
Well, and I mean, contractually, most contracts, when you have the grievance procedure, it starts at the building level, building
one.
supervisor, and goes up. So that would actually align with that as well.
Yes, it does. CBAs.
This is just a good reminder too for us to show the chain of command. So if someone were to ask you something, you know where they would flow under, so to speak. So who they would contact first and next, and then ultimately us. All right, so we don't have to approve that or anything. Next, we have action, set the 2022-2023 tuition rate, reference E. We also do this every year, and it's basically the budget that was approved divided by the number of students enrolled, and you have your number. Sometimes it does include DIRG, which we don't have. I don't know if that really matters, but it'd be interesting at some point to see, I think. But are there any questions on the tuition rate? If I can find it. There it is. No questions? Okay. We do actually. It's an action, so we should approve the tuition rate. Is there a motion to approve the 2022-2023 student tuition rate? Dipty, second by Kelly. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. The tuition rate is approved. Another action item, G, is approval of Board of Education meeting schedule, reference F in your packet, which you might have noticed is a little bit abbreviated. There are a couple of combined meetings, but we could always add one if needed as a special meeting.
Yeah, don't shoot me, but there's only one in October.
Right. There's a couple of months. I noticed April, May, and October were
we
reduced
usually
to
have
one.
One for April.
We always have one. The only one that's different is
October.
It's the only one.
Oh, I went back. I thought I saw 2 in April and 2 in May.
Mm-mm.
Oh, maybe it was a
Yeah.
special. Okay.
But April, we have one because of break. We
Right.
only have one.
Okay.
Yeah, but October, we always have two.
Right.
So every October, it's a lighter agenda, and I'm just trying to do the best I can to keep everyone not out every single night, especially those of us who have to attend building committee meetings and everything else. We're out every single night. Same for you. If there isn't anything that is pressing, there really is no need to have two in October. But if you'd like to have two, we can. And if there's anything ever that's really pressing, I have to call a special meeting, anyway. And you guys, I don't want to say that we've been kind of lucky. We haven't really had to that much this year, but that usually doesn't happen. So it's up to you. I just tried, there's no reason really for us to have 2 meetings in October is my perspective based on, there's nothing overly pressing.
Okay.
And the district data presentation was in October, but I think that was just for this year, not necessarily every year. So that might not be an issue either.
Yep.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the meeting schedule?
Motion.
I saw Lori, and second by Catherine. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. And the agenda is, meeting schedule is approved. Next, we have an action item for approval of Board of Education, motion and minutes, October 25th, regular meeting.
Committee meetings.
Committee meeting schedules. Right. Okay, if there's any questions on the committee meetings?
Typo. Nice catch. September. Yep. Yes.
And then you also questioned to me earlier the 4:30, and that's, I think, because it's summer and our meeting would be at 5:30, and then that would be 4:30?
Yeah, so in the summer we do 4:30 for, yeah, and then 5:30 for board meetings.
Okay. So Catherine made a motion to approve the amended agenda with that one change. Is there a second? Kelly C., all in favor? Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. And our committee meeting schedule is approved. Action item I, approval of minutes and motions from our October 25th regular meeting, reference H. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Catherine, is there a second? Lori, all in favor? Opposed, abstentions? Oh, sorry, 3 abstentions. 4. Okay, Jen Lamerson will abstain, Kelly Franklin, Dipti Post, and Kelly Cloutier. Okay, but it still passes.
That's why we
They
don't
are
have a second
approved.
meeting
All right, and item J, approval of minutes and motions from our November 2nd, 2022 special meeting, reference I. Is there a motion to approve? Alan, second by Matt, all in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions there? Which one? Kelly Franklin, okay. All right, motion carries. Item K, action item, stipend approval for 2022-2023, reference J, which is for basketball and, basketball. 2 basketball stipends. Are there any questions on those stipends? Is there a motion to approve them? Catherine, second by Kelly C. All in favor? Okay. Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. They are approved. Informational item L, human resources personnel activity, reference K in your packets. Are there any questions on any of those?
Question. Oh. What's a family school engagement / school climate specialist?
We'll invite Dr. McLean or Sari O'Leary to come and explain why we have this position. Or both of you. I can, but you guys know it. You hired it. Hold on. It's the one we just hired, Carrie.
We have 2 positions with very similar titles.
Yeah.
So, we were like, which one are we talking about? It really is. So this particular position helps us to support our families in the district that may need some extra support in connecting to the school community. Also, that particular position is going to be a choice liaison so that they can help our families that live in Hartford have more access to the Cromwell school community and sort of get a feel for what their needs are so that we can better service their students.
So this was we had another position that just went obsolete at the high school, so we took that position because it wasn't needed anymore, and we talked about what we needed. So when we thought about everything that we needed, the intent of that position was to be this.
That's not how it ended up.
That's not how it ended up. So that person resigned and got another job. So then when we reposted it, we looked for something that we wrote the job description so that it matches what our needs are.
So they make connections, like they make school to home connections, right? They're someone that if we've got struggling students and struggling families, we have lots of struggling families, this person is sort of a connection to the school so that we can connect them to the resources that we know exist in the community. They're also helping to support our families from the choice program so that they can be more connected to the school community as well. It's really a parent liaison between the school and home. Social workers
yeah.
and school psychologists and principals. It's a lot of hands on deck.
I know we had gotten a resignation from Mrs. Fox, the Spanish middle school teacher that said she's leaving in December, but I see that we don't have one listed as vacancy. Did we find a replacement for her after December?
That's the Spanish
Michelle's telling
teacher that resigned.
I know the response, I'm just not sure.
Did we
if
hire
it's-
someone? Because they're not on the list.
Yeah, I know she said she was leaving at December. Oh, okay.
Mary? It went internal. So when we post, we have to post following the collective bargaining agreement. Many of the collecting bargaining agreements in our district, we're very lucky, post in and out at the same time. So someone internal had their credentials in that union and they got the position. So they start in January.
Okay, and so it doesn't get listed on here?
No, because they're
Okay.
already an employee in
Okay.
this in the union. Yep.
Any other, Catherine?
So just to confirm, resignations are people who are completely leaving the district?
Resignations are people who are completely
Yes.
leaving the district. Yep.
There are two on here that have been here for quite a while.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking. One.
Yeah, I'm really, really sad to see them go because they were such positive influences on students and parents in the district, so.
Let me have a dean at the high school and I can get her back.
Who's going to put her
In a
robes on at graduation?
heartbeat.
She coming back for graduation
We
to
cried.
dress us?
We went and celebrated. She, I think you all know who we're talking about.
Claire.
She's talking about Claire.
Oh, Claire. Oh, she's
Yeah,
wonderful
Claire.
too. Yeah, she's retiring.
She's oh,
Yeah,
that wasn't
that's
listed as a
not-
retirement.
Oh, sorry, that's a retirement.
So I was very confused, wondering.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That is a retirement. That was.
She didn't list it as a
Oh, she
retirement.
retired.
She listed
Okay.
it as a resignation,
Oh,
but
okay.
she's kind of doing both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's been at almost all of the schools, I think.
She
Yeah.
has
Like-
been, yeah, and she's been amazing for parents and students alike. She just has such a kind
She's
way
wonderful.
about her, and we're gonna miss her. And I'm just wondering if she's gonna come back to dress us for graduation because nobody else seems to do it
I am
correctly.
sure. I have a connection with her, so I might be able to get that and make that happen. Yes, she is. We're gonna miss her. We're gonna miss all these people. I mean, obviously,
Absolutely,
some of these are
yeah.
part-time positions, and
But they've been such a huge asset to
Yeah.
the
the sad part about us is, it's we're a smaller district. We don't have as many administrative positions, so people need to go elsewhere. But then they like to come back. We saw that with Dr. McLean. We've seen that with Mr. Cuckle. We've seen that with Miss Cochiola. So people go and they spread their wings and they get their experience, and then we bring them back. And that's my hope in this situation.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Michelle. Oh, sorry, there was one.
Sorry, I didn't speak up quick enough. Vacancies, we have 2 special ed teacher vacancies. Does that mean that other special education teachers in those buildings are kind of taking on an increased caseload?
One of the positions we got advance notice that they're going to be leaving, and we already have one already filled. So the one at the middle school went internal again, and so they're moving in January. That was like a chain reaction. And then the one at the opening at ECS, that's posted, but the person doesn't leave until the end of December. So hopefully we'll fill it by then. We have high expectations.
Yes, we do.
Anything else? Matt, are you all set? Okay. All right, thank you. Moving on to the informational principal reports, LMN and O. Are there any questions on those? Did we resolve the numbers? Should I not ask?
And if we didn't, the principals are here, so you can ask them.
Can of worms.
What, Matt?
Can of worms.
Okay. Should we move on to policies? Alan, are you sure? All right, so we have first read, physical restraint and seclusion of students and use of exclusionary timeout, Series 5000, policy from Shipman, and it's reference P in your packets. Are there any questions on that one? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve it? Made by Dipty, second by Lori. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries and the policy is approved.
These are first reads.
What am I doing?
I don't know.
Shoot, okay. Can we? I'm just kidding. Second read, okay. So that was Dipty and Lori. So, okay, just change that to second read. Okay,
We could just jump right over it and approve them because they're mandated.
right. And, all right, item B, first read, policy regarding student use of the district's computer systems, and internet safety. Is there a motion to move that to second read?
Can we skip it? If, like, a motion to skip second and approve?
Enza, what do you think?
So your bylaws and with policy, and I'll be honest with you, I don't agree with them. I don't agree with them, but that's something for all of you to, yeah, your bylaws say that unless it's an emergency, and you have allowed me to skip it when we really have needed to. This, yes, you have, and this is not an emergency. However, now that the can of worms has been opened up, I would love for us to have a first read and then go to the board for 2 reads. Like policy 1 read and then bring it to the board for 2, because then you have everyone in the room. I just have never had 2 policy reads. It holds everything up. But
That might make for a really long regular board meeting, though, because you spend a lot of time on each policy and committee, right?
That's what I was thinking.
I don't, that, I could look into that. I don't know if that's, allowable. I'll look at your bylaws.
Hold on, Lori had a thought.
Well, I just feel like sometimes at policy, we look at it once, but then we come back and we have further discussion.
It will make your board meetings longer, for
It
sure.
would definitely make the board meetings longer, like to iron it out during policy and then bring it to the full board when we feel confident in it.
Right.
That's what I think. That would be my recommendation.
You can look at
We
your,
could look into doing that and,
yeah, your
Sure.
bylaws
okay, I'll follow up on that.
for the other, the opposite.
Yes.
Okay. Motion.
Motion by Catherine. Is there a second on moving that? Alan, all in favor? Opposed, abstentions? Move that to second read. And then we have none on for second read tonight. Board committee reports. We have reference R in your packet, informational, meeting minutes. And then facilities and technology, we did not meet. Our next meeting is scheduled for December 13th. Are there any topics for future agendas that anyone would like to add?
I
don't know. Go ahead, Catherine.
We looked at schedules at the middle school and at the high school, and we changed everything post block scheduling and everything. So this is our first year going through. And I don't care if we push it to the summer or the end of the school year, but can we get an update from teachers and principals on how the new schedules actually went? I'm hearing a variety of things from the middle school, so I'd like to know at the end of this. Yeah, from students, teachers, and parents.
They all had the staff had a lot of input in creating that schedule, but we could.
That's not what I heard. So, but I
That's
mean,
what I
that's
saw,
why I just,
so.
if we could get an update at the end of the school year or somewhere.
Yeah, we could definitely give you an update, but keeping in mind, as I will always tell you,
Same as calendar, and everybody will be happy.
we will give you an update, but the scheduling, there's so many things that come into play when you're making a schedule, and we have to follow so many different things, so not everyone's always going to be happy, and as you can see, we haven't found one yet that everyone's 100% happy with.
And that's not
happy
something
with.
that we have purview over
You have
anyway.
no purview over that, no. No, but we'd
But it would
more
be
than
nice to
happy
get an
share it with
update
you,
on
sure.
it.
We are always happy to share information, but you'll never get a consensus about it.
I understand that, but
yeah.
it's varying between the high school and the middle school, and that's a little discouraging.
It has to, because it's
No,
summer.
the comments about the schedules are varying from the high school and the middle school.
Because it's credit bearing. So at the high school, you're kind of locked into stuff, where at the middle school, you could be much more creative, and there's a team approach. So to answer the question, yes, we can have an update. And we will do that. Probably not until after budget.
Okay, perfect.
Any other topics for future agendas? I thought I saw Matt. Were you going to suggest something?
I was just wondering if December would be too early to get maybe just a glimpse at how ESS started out.
Sure, we're right in the middle of, right now we have the contract. When you're looking at a contract that, that size, we like to run it by a council. So council just returned it back to us. We're in the process of calling a discussion with Kerma. That's our insurance carrier, to make sure everything is okay. Sari and Ms. O'Leary, tell me if I'm missing anything. And we've hired the social worker already, correct? As far as ESS?
Yeah, but we're in the middle of the contract signing.
Yeah, so that's, yeah.
We did meet with them this week.
Yeah.
I would rather wait until January,
Okay.
February.
Yeah.
I was in my mind it was starting today.
I thought today too.
Well, it was until I wasn't crazy. I didn't love some of the wording in the contract, and then I'll always make sure that I send it through council to get.
I'd prefer caution with something
Yeah.
like this as well. But if it started today, that's why I was like, maybe we can just see how the first month
Yeah.
went.
No.
Okay.
Oh, it's still, the contract is still in, we're almost there.
All right. We'll do comments, updates, and announcements from board members and administrators. We'll start with Kelly. Nothing? Dipti? Kelly. Catherine.
Actually, I do. Just want to, I mentioned it earlier in the Athletic Field Committee report, that we are having the Board of Finance look to approve our funding. And as you all know, that's going to be something that directly impacts our schools here at the Cromwell High School. So if you would like to just even sit there and listen, it should be closer to the start of the meeting, just to show support for our Athletic Field Committee to hopefully get this passed. You don't have to give public comment if you don't want. Just having numbers there usually makes them feel that we care. So we just want them to know we really care strongly about this project to get a better facility here at the high school.
7 p.m.?
7 p.m. Thursday night. Feel free to bring a high schooler if you know them, or anyone who's interested in improving the high school facilities.
Thank you for that. Dr. Macri, anything else? Lori? Jen? How's that? Alan?
On the Veterans Day, I think it's very appropriate the way we do it, and I'm very pleased, to hear how it was done.
I agree. Thank you. And Matt?
Yeah, I actually, the Veterans Day, I've been a teacher for 20 some odd years now, and I remember a time when it was a day off, and I remember the first year that it was put into place in the district where I teach, where, most of us were like, oh, we just lost the day off. And it's actually evolved over time into this awesome event. And I want to make sure that we, recognize the veterans who came in and gave their time to come meet with our students and staff. But I also want to recognize that planning an event like that for the day, there's a lot of manpower that goes into that. There's a lot on the administration to organize stuff, and there's a lot of time put in by our staff, including our teachers, for additional preparation, and that's kind of going above and beyond what they do on their day-to-day. They're taking on some added responsibility. So I want to thank them for that as well, because I do think it's a huge benefit to our students to see some of the history and to actually meet people who are veterans who serve this country. So thank you to all those involved in the planning and organizing.
I do appreciate that. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn? Kelly, second by Lori.